meeting of the Portsmouth City Council to order. And I'll ask my colleagues to stand for the invocation, which will be given tonight by Reverend Terry Taylor, the pastor of the Port Norfolk Baptist Church here in Portsmouth. Then after the invocation, I'll ask Bill Moody to lead us all, and I'll ask everybody to stand in the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Taylor.
Let us pray. Loving Father, in the season of reflection, thanksgiving, anticipation of things yet to come, we rejoice in the opportunity that we have to gather together as the Portsmouth family, join in the business that's before us. We pray that you would be with us, that you would help us to be able to be unified in spirit, to be open to your guidance, to be led by your hand. Give this council wisdom. We thank you for their willingness to serve, and we just pray that you would help us to be in one accord, even though we come with different agendas and different perspectives. Help us to work together to make this place a better place, fitting for our families and for the residents here, and for your glory. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next we'll have an electronic roll call, and I'll ask my colleagues to indicate your presence tonight by hitting the yes button. And Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. The next we have the consideration of the adoption of minutes, and we have the minutes of a call meeting on November the 13th, 2018, and the minutes of a regular meeting on November the 13th, 2018, and we'll consider both in one motion. Is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a motion to adopt or approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
We have two presentations tonight, and the first, we're happy to have the interim president of Tidewater Community College as it celebrates its 50th anniversary. And it's my great pleasure to ask Dr. Gregory DeCinque, the interim president. He's been interim of TCC since July. And Dr. Michelle Woodhouse, our provost of the Portsmouth Council, to join me, the provost of our Portsmouth campus, to join me here as the clerk reads the proclamation. Thank you. Right here would be fine. Oh, we have a member of the board, the TC board.
To come.
Yeah, Linda Ridenhour. Ma'am, would you please come up?
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing her out. I did not see you, Linda.
Come on up here.
Again, what we're doing is celebrating a birthday here. A birthday of what I consider to be the gold standard for community colleges in the state of Virginia. It was in 1967 that the idea came up to implement what Thomas Jefferson had in mind, to have a college within a horseback ride of every citizen in the state. And so we have 23.
23.
And again, I want to emphasize tonight that the best of the 23 is right here, Tidewater Community College. And with that,
Yes, sir. City of Portsmouth, a proclamation. Whereas for the past 50 years, Tidewater Community College has served the citizens of Southampton Roads by providing affordable higher education, workforce development, and economic development opportunities. And whereas the Portsmouth campus of Tidewater Community College, which opened in 2010, replacing the founding campus in Suffolk, has been an integral component in the development of the city of Portsmouth, providing citizens with employment, education, and cultural opportunities. And whereas in addition to offering traditional college academic courses, the Portsmouth campus currently features the signature programs of welding, studio arts, HVAC/R, truck driving, the Beasley School of Nursing, and the dual enrollment academies. And whereas the TCC Skilled Trades Academy will provide citizens with a variety of expanded training opportunities in carpentry, electrical, plumbing, pipe laying, masonry, structural welding, maritime coding and painting, warehousing, and other in-demand skills. Now, therefore, our mayor, John L. Rowe, Jr., with the city of Portsmouth, Virginia, do hereby proclaim December as Tidewater Community College 50th Anniversary Month in Portsmouth, and do call upon all the citizens of Portsmouth to join in celebrating the 50th anniversary of the establishment of Tidewater Community College.
It's only appropriate that we give a birthday hand clap. And again, this proclamation talks about the Portsmouth campus, and we have a bias. Not only is TCC the best college, community college in the state, but the Portsmouth campus is the best of all the campuses.
I can say that tonight.
Well, good. We're going to give you an opportunity to say that.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
would you all,
very much. Yes,
thank you.
Appreciate that
Yeah.
very much. Come on over with me. Sure. What do you want to do? Just before.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll bring my support group along with me here, if you don't mind. I'm sure you all know Dr. Woodhouse, and you all know Linda Ridnour. I thought I would take just a couple minutes of your time tonight, and we look forward. I know that we've been invited, Dr. Woodhouse has been invited in January to do a little more in-depth, because we really would like to keep you abreast of everything that's happening. Although from the resolution, it looks like you got a pretty good handle on it. This morning at a staff meeting, I said to the group, I said, you know, when someone asks you, what do you do at TCC, I think the answer is just to say to them, everything. Because when you look at the variety of programs that are offered at TCC, it's just overwhelming. I've spent 40-some years of my life working in community colleges and came here, as the mayor said, in July, and have been absolutely amazed what this institution brings to Hampton Roads. The Portsmouth campus is certainly a very special place. I can tell you that Dr. Woodhouse has an operation there where students feel welcomed and warmed. And when I go on that campus and I meet with the faculty and staff there, I can feel it immediately of how the students and the faculty and the staff and the community in general feel about this particular campus. If you don't mind, I'd like to share just a couple of facts with you. First of all, just you may or may not be aware that we served over 10,000 students on the Portsmouth campus last year, and that's almost the second largest community college alone or the third, I should say, because the beach is a little bit bigger. But Portsmouth is doing a great job with serving the community. I also should mention that about half of, just under half of our students take advantage of our transfer programs. So they're coming to get that first 2 years of the baccalaureate degree and then move on generally to institutions in this area. The other thing we know about the TCC graduates that go on and then finish in this area, they tend to stay here. So we believe we're helping with that classic brain drain by keeping some of the best and brightest here in the area. You may or may not know that we get 20% of all the high school graduates in Hampton Roads that go on to college. makes us by far the college of choice for Hampton Roads. We have over 32,000 credit students, and we serve another 10,000 in some form of workforce or training programs to support every area of the industry in this area. And with that, thank you for mentioning the Skilled Trade Center, which is here in Portsmouth. I think you're going to be very proud of having that. I hope that you will all join us. I know you've received invitations. I know that the mayor will be there, and we'll have, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone, but I think people know that Senator Kane will be joining us. We heard today that Congresswoman Loria will also be joining us, as well as many representatives of the business community will be there for the ribbon cutting of the Skilled Trade Center, which is already opening and operating. So with that, not taking up a lot of your time tonight, just let me thank you for your continued support of Tidewater Community College, and we are really proud to serve the city of Portsmouth. Thank you,
sir. Thank you. And I think it's appropriate again to wish you another happy 50. The next item is the presentation of lapel pins to newly appointed board and commission members. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
And Councilman Bill Moody.
If the following would please join Councilman Moody at the Sergeant at Arms desk.
Thank you. Just one.
Mr. Kyle Kovacic with the Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority.
Thank you, Sal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Danny Meeks with the Towing Advisory Board.
Say, Danny, come over here. Yo, come on. Let's get on camera. I know both of these guys, and they're not shy. One of them is our former colleague, Danny Meeks, and Kyle Kovacic is one of our newest board members, and it's good to have both of them. You know, the volunteers, we make a big deal out of this because it is a big deal. Volunteers and boards and commission members, they help us make this city a better place to live, work, and play, and we need more of them. If anyone out in the audience, or if anyone knows anybody willing to volunteer some of their precious time, you're more than welcome. You can fill out an application now online. Makes it easy. So hopefully we'll get some more applicants, and we'll have a bigger crowd up here next time. But since we got a small crowd, I'm going to hand the mic over to both of these gentlemen and have them say a few words about volunteerism and why they're going to volunteer some of their time. Kyle?
On the spot.
You'll be all right. I'm next.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'd like just to say thank you to City Council and staff for appointing me to this position, and to Caitlin for her love and support going through this. I'm really excited for this opportunity to help out the City of Portsmouth. And yeah, I'm a man of few words, so.
First of all, I want to thank council for considering me. It does look easier on this side. No budgets, no 96,000 people. But, you know, when I was on council, me and a lot of these colleagues up here that either John was manager or Dr. Patton and most of the city council people up there, and Paige Cherry's in the audience. A big initiative we were pushing was minority participation. And with the towing industries, I've talked to a lot of the minority guys to get on these towing boards, and I want to make sure that the work is being done properly in the right way, and educating the people that own the tow trucks and stuff in this type of business to know the rules and regulations and how to get on these boards and and get on these lists so they can get the proper work. So it's definitely a big deal to me. So I want to thank you again for considering me. So thank you.
Thank both of you. Have a good evening.
And Danny mentioned Paige Cherry, a former colleague. And if Paige Cherry would stand up, I'd like to recognize him tonight. He's our city treasurer. Thank you for being here. Which brings us to our next item of business, which is public hearing 18-444. And Madam Clerk, would you read the caption to the public hearing, please?
Yes, sir. CA 1804, citywide. The City of Portsmouth is proposing to amend the city zoning ordinance to exempt pre-existing non-conforming single-family residences under certain conditions from requirements to consolidate non-conforming lots prior to approving zoning clearance permits for improvements to the property. These provisions would not apply to new development or redevelopment of property. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Thank you. Dr. Patton, can you explain this, please?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, we'll have Mr. Baldwin to come forward.
I think we have a technical issue with this
He's
projector.
going to fix it.
Go ahead.
Interesting view from here. Good evening, Mayor Rowe, Vice Mayor Simmons, and members of City Council. As you recall, this code amendment came about from a citizen concern that was had alerted Council back in September to a concern about a requirement in the zoning ordinance regarding consolidation of non-conforming lots. And at that time, City Council asked that be referred to the Planning Commission to initiate the process of preparing a code amendment, and that's the code amendment you have before you tonight. And as way of illustration, I'm actually going to show you this is the actual parcel in question from the citizen who contacted City Council on Bain Street. And what you see there is a single house highlighted in yellow on what I think most people consider to be one lot, but as you can see, it's made out of all of lot 125, which you can see in the middle, and portions of lot 124 and lot 26 on either side. And that's relatively common in Portsmouth. We have houses sitting on multiple lots, multiple parcels, portions of parcels, just one of those things that's occurred over the many years of development in the city. I think as you're aware, back before zoning was in place, a lot of properties in the city were subdivided into 25-foot lots, and then a buyer would come in and buy however many lots they needed to accommodate the size house they were building. So this is a very common situation. So in our zoning ordinance, and this is a provision that dates back to the 2010 new ordinance, and this again is also something not uncommon in zoning ordinances across the state. Just a requirement if someone comes in to get a zoning clearance to eliminate all these interior lot lines, to clean up the portions of lots, which we would refer to as non-conforming lots, to create a single parcel. And so that would be the lot lines you see in that drawing that are in red. And what that would mean, for example, in the case of someone came in to add a deck to the house, in this case it was in addition to the back side of the house, before they could get into the process, they would have to go and hire a surveyor, prepare a subdivision plat, and go through the subdivision process. And obviously there's a delay, and there's also a cost to that. So in response to that, we prepared the code amendment you have before you. Pretty straightforward, and what it basically would result in parcels like that being referred to as a zoning lot of record, and therefore would not require the interior lot lines to be vacated for these types of situations. Again, it's for additions, things such as that. However, if someone were to demolish the house and want to build new, or if it was a vacant lot, the requirement to vacate those interior lots would apply when they came in to do new construction. But in this case, the amendment you have before you would simply eliminate the requirement to do that for additions and things of that nature. The Planning Commission considered this at their meeting November the 6th, and they voted to recommend approval.
Thank you.
Glad to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Baldwin? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And this is a public hearing, and before I open the public hearing, this public hearing is open for anybody to make comment, whether you've registered to speak or not. Please come to the lectern if you want to speak on this matter. State your name and your address, and you'll have 5 minutes. And Madam Clerk, will you read the protocol, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
We do have 2 registered speakers, so when I open the public hearing, I'll first call them, and then after those speakers, anybody can speak. And so with that, I'll open the public hearing. This is a public hearing on item CA-18-04. And our first registered speaker is Joanne Clark. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes. And again, if you will state your name and your address, please.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Joanne Clark, 4717 Thornwood Street, Portsmouth, Virginia. This is a wonderful amendment to the zoning ordinance. I'd like to offer a recommendation or proposal, including for the zoning ordinance regarding single-family residences. In the neighborhood residential, it's strictly 30,000 square foot lots. When you get into general residential, there's a whole lot of other things included. I'd like to see maybe one more designation or subcategory that would be possibly for single-family homes that average 13,000 square feet to 29,000 square feet, and that would be in stable neighborhoods. It seems like there's too many things that are condensed in just those 2 categories, and possibly 3 might be a better clarification for all those who are bringing new development in, new construction, or those of us who are on boards and commissions and scratch our head all the time when we're pressed with these issues. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you. The next speaker is Steve Carroll. And sir, you have 5 minutes.
Evening, Mayor, members of council. Some of my concerns have been allayed by this valid explanation, because when I read this, to be quite honest with you, I've had a dozen people ask me about this, and this is written as confusing as Chinese arithmetic. My concern kind of piggybacks on what Mrs. Clark said. At one time, I lived in Sweetbriar. Sweetbriar is a fairly old neighborhood, fairly large lots, all brick construction. Very few houses have anything other than that. 2 houses across the street from where I used to live, and I'm very familiar with those houses, were bulldozed. And in their place now stands 4 houses. And I see the words non-conforming single-family residences and non-conforming lots. My concern is that we are losing Portsmouth's character, and I'm not the first time, and I'm not the first person to bring this to your attention. The houses that sit there now are not of the quality of the houses that were bulldozed. The lot sizes are not consistent with the neighborhood, and the houses are not consistent with the construction of the neighborhood. And that is something that needs to be looked at by the City Council. Several years ago, and I warned you on this, and I use this analogy, you were changing the coding for zoning. We used to be RS 150, my neighborhood, 15,000 plus square foot lots. You've changed that now, and basically what you allowed to happen was a higher density of development and construction where somebody can come in and buy lots. The exact same thing happened with a particular developer that I have butted heads with in the past. He wanted to put 20 condos on 2 beautiful waterfront lots. We fought him. He wanted to put 15, we fought him. He wanted to put 10 houses, we fought him. He wanted to put 9 houses, we fought him. He took it down to 7, now it's down to 5 because, quite honest, they look like little postage stamp size jigsaw puzzle pieces that he's managed to sell 1 of. That's his fault for his greed, not us. You have a problem with non-conforming construction in your new zoning standard, and that needs to be fixed. And personally, I think this is kind of linked to 18-424 because this goes back to an issue that we have dealt with in the past, just the last couple of months, about future development in this city and destroying our neighborhoods. And this particular subject is the reason we formed our civic league in our neighborhood and why it still exists. Because I will fight fearlessly and tenaciously to protect the integrity of my neighborhood from encroachment from non-conforming construction. We are losing that in this city. I'm all for redevelopment where we have dilapidated construction. Fairwood Homes was a good example. That's where this is a positive impact. But our current zoning is a negative impact on a lot of our communities and a lot of our neighborhoods, and you need to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The chair recognizes Councilman Bill Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe council also brought this to staff's attention, I want to say six months, perhaps a year ago. And I think it was evidence on Greenwood, Deep Creek Boulevard, also in the Highland Biltmore section. Mr. Baldwin, this will put a stop to that type of development. Not this particular piece of legislation, but council, I think you committed to council that that sort of thing would be prevented with some changes in the zoning. Can you speak to that?
Well, let's direct that to Dr. Patton, and I think we've already solved this problem.
Well,
in a previous action by council.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so it's no longer an issue.
Okay.
Now, council took action to amend the zoning ordinance to eliminate the raid on neighborhoods.
But perhaps we need to do a better job of getting the word out there. I think that's what Mr. Carroll just spoke to.
Right.
I had a call last week about it as well. So
let's get that at the end of the public hearing. Let's go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Does anybody else want to speak for or against? Again, this is an amendment that will allow the consolidation of non-conforming lots like the one that's here to allow what makes sense. One lot, one house. Any other speakers? Okay, this public hearing is closed so that we can consider this matter on first reading. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move for adoption. Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Again, this matter is on first reading. All in favor, please vote yes, and opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
As a matter of order, I think it would be appropriate, Dr. Patton, if you could explain or have someone explain the fact that this matter tonight is different from the matter that we've already solved.
Mr. Baldwin, would you come forward, please? Planning Director.
Certainly. The matter you just had before you obviously is dealing with a situation in which a single parcel that meets the zoning requirements is made up of smaller, non-conforming pieces, if I describe it that way. So if you can imagine a situation where there's no structure on it, and someone being able to sell off bits and pieces of a lot because they are deeded individual lots that make up that parcel. So what you've done tonight is to create a situation in which those types of lots can be treated as a single lot to build a single house. So it's not creating smaller lots. This is not, there's already provisions in the zoning code, as every locality has, to allow construction on non-conforming lots of record. In this case, though, what you're doing is you're just allowing someone to skip the process of vacating internal lot lines for parcels they already own. So this is not a subdivision. These are existing parcels.
And when did council amend the zoning ordinance to eliminate the subdividing of big lots into smaller lots?
Right, so we had the patch. I don't recall the exact date, but it's been within the last 3 or 4 months. We amended the ordinance to remove that smaller lot stuff. Now, I will mention, I think one of the things you may be hearing, there were properties, subdivision projects in the pipeline that, as we explained at that time, would be, still operating under the old regulations. We can't retrofit the ordinance to projects that have already been submitted. So there are a few of those that are just finishing up, going through the process. You may hear a little bit about those, but since that time, we've had no new subdivisions come in for those smaller lots.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Baldwin? The next we move to unfinished business, and it's the first item is 18-424A. And Madam Clerk, would you read the resolution, please?
Yes, sir. A resolution adopting an updated comprehensive plan for the city of Portsmouth.
So that we can consider this matter, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second? We're ready for discussion on this motion that's been duly made and seconded, and we do have a registered speaker, and that speaker is Joanne Clark, and ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Do you want me to repeat my address?
No, ma'am, you're good.
Okay. I'm here with a different hat. I'm here representing myself as a member of the board of the BZA. I, through email, have contacted the chair of the BZA, and we had some questions and concerns. This was part of the work session yesterday. It's 21 pages of use permits. And we were given on October 25th, 2017, responsibility of special exceptions for use permits.
Ma'am, we're considering the comprehensive plan. How does this relate?
Well, what I was going to say is I look forward to hearing from planning and other members of staff of how this integrates with what our responsibilities are so that we can move forward.
Thank you. We do have another registered speaker, and that speaker is Steve Carroll. And sir, you have 5 minutes.
Again, welcome. Again, more questions than anything else. It's kind of hard to say you're for or against something. Is this a resolution to study, or do we already have tactics and strategies for our future land use? Because we already have a comprehensive plan. Are we calling the same thing something different, or are we totally changing our comprehensive plan? Because again, I think all of these are linked in some form or fashion. Another item that I didn't, sign up to speak for, 18-447, we're going to be moving our city hall and our civic service facilities. All this is going to impact the comprehensive plan or impacted by the comprehensive plan. Certainly, we should not be thinking about moving City Hall until we have a comprehensive plan in place. So is one coming before the other? Are we going to change the comprehensive plan before we deal with moving City Hall and our public services? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, further discussion by members of council on the motion? You're ready for the question? We'll take an electronic vote. All in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us to the item B. Would you read the caption of the ordinance, please?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to amend and reordain Section 40.1-8.3 of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, definitions for the purpose of including real estate broker and agent offices within the definition of professional services offices.
So that we can consider this matter, is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a motion that's been duly made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, which is to adopt, please vote yes. Opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us to the city manager's report. The first item is 18-445, which is the consideration of the adoption of a certain ordinance. And Madam Clerk, would you read the caption of the ordinance, please?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to establish a new project titled Portsmouth Emergency Vehicle Preemption Project in the FY 2019 Capital Improvement Fund budget, and to fund the EVP project in the amount of $301,809 as follows. 1, by accepting congestion mitigation and air quality funds in the amount of $204,000 from the Virginia Department of Transportation and appropriating said funds to the EVP project. And 2, by transferring additional CMAQ funds in the amount of $97,809 from the traffic signal upgrades project in the FY 2019 Capital Improvement Fund budget to the EVP project.
You've heard the reading of the caption, so we can consider this matter. Is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a duly made motion and seconded. Any discussion, further discussion on the motion? We're ready for the question. All in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us to item 18-446, which is the consideration of another ordinance. And would you read the caption of this ordinance, please?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to amend and reordain subsections B and F of Section 35-14 of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia, relief from erroneous assessments and erroneous payments generally, for the purpose of streamlining the process for refunding erroneous payments of local levies, taxes, licenses, or fees.
So that we can consider this matter, is a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Move for adoption. Second.
We have a motion that's been duly made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us to item 18-447, which is the consideration of a certain resolution. And Madam Clerk, would you read the caption of the resolution, please?
Yes, sir. A resolution directing that an analysis of the proposal received for the construction of a new city hall and a new public safety building be conducted by city staff.
So that we can consider this matter, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion that's been made and it's been duly seconded to adopt. We're ready for discussion, and we do have one registered speaker, and that is Donna Sy. And ma'am, you have 5 minutes, please.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Under the city manager's report, there's Resolution 18-447. This resolution is giving authority to the city staff by the city council, not by the people, to analyze the proposals received from developers to construct a new city hall and a new public safety building. In this resolution, there is no proposal to construct a new city jail, that will be demolished in the process of building a new city hall and public safety building. This is a prime example of what our founding father, George Washington, made clear. All the founding fathers looked upon government as a changeable instrument of explosive power which must be harnessed within the confines of a strictly interpreted constitution. If Portsmouth government is not harnessed, the elected are going to destroy the very freedom our Constitution was designed to preserve. Washington said, government is not reason, it is not eloquence, it is force. Government is like fire, it is dangerous servant and a fearful master. This resolution, 18-447, is a fire designed to destroy our city, starting at the waterfront. The people's right to self-govern was not part of the decision to demolish the waterfront. This is just one of many examples Portsmouth elected have a lack of ability to reason because it's all about force. The city council government is like fire. City council are dangerous servants and are fearful masters, the opposite of what are in the Bill of Rights. Last night, there was a briefing on capital projects cleanup report given by Ms. Spivey from the Finance Office. She reported briefly about the CAFRAs. There are over 100 projects expenditures not applied to the right year. Review the Municipal Facilities Assessment Overview given on January the 23rd by Mr. James Wright, engineer. 801 Water Street was purchased for over $2 million. The City Council took this building off the tax rolls. The real estate base was over $3 million. That means the city took away $40,000 of revenue from the people of the city for the last 4 years. Next, 801 Crawford Street. He reported that the City Hall building has significant maintenance issues that will cost $7 million to fix. Does it make sense to tear City Hall down and build another one somewhere else when we can repair the issues and save money? The former Civic Center at 711 Crawford Street and the City Jail at 701 Crawford Street will cost $8 million to demolish and $64 million to relocate the jail. It will cost less money to rebuild the Civic Center to fit the needs for a safety building instead of demolishing it. To revitalize the waterfront, there was approval of over $475,000 from the Capital Improvement Plan for Studies and Assessment. The staff wants to select a site for the public safety complex in City Hall. Instead of wasting taxpayers' money and time on the demolition of the waterfront, use the buildings on the waterfront for the public business affairs. Move the businesses out of downtown area except for a few. Here is the money spent without the people's consent. $99,000 for the connected study for fiber optics. $75,000 for a poverty study we didn't need. $77,000 for attorney fees for a VIG lawsuit.
Ma'am, how does this relate to the issue before us?
It's relating to how much money you spent, and why are you asking me questions?
Because you have to speak to the issue that's before us.
I am speaking to the issue.
Ma'am.
I'm sorry if you don't have the ability to reason. We used all this money that we could be using for our property on the waterfront. We're standing on a piece of property that you're planning to tear down without our consent. You're making that decision, not we the people out there. And you're embarrassing me in public by telling me how does this apply? This is what I'm talking about. The government of the elected is no longer of the people. And you're spending our money without our consent, and you're saying things like that to embarrass me in public? This resolution is wrong for the people. It will cause the people a great deal of suffering in the future. The people are no longer the source of power in Portsmouth, as our Virginia Constitution guarantees. It guarantees us, we the people, and you are taking it away from us. The civic leagues are not able to engage with the elected because you have taken away
Ma'am, your
the
time is
power.
up.
I hear you.
Please,
And
please be seated.
Don't try to overrule me, please.
We have before us a motion to adopt that's been duly seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Opposed, no. And Madam Clerk, that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us to item 18448, which is consideration of a certain motion, which is to retire one of our patrol horses. And the chair will entertain a motion. Madam Clerk, you want to read the motion? No?
Sure.
Or I'll entertain a motion from any member of council. Please, the chair recognizes Councilwoman, or Vice Mayor Simmons, I'm sorry.
My machine is broken. This is an adoption of a motion to permit Alicia Mahar to adopt a Portsmouth Police Departmental mounted patrol horse, Shades, a 15.2 hand gray Percheron thoroughbred gelding by electronic roll call.
Yes, and that's your motion. Is there a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion to retire one of our patrol horses and allow its adoption. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote yes. Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Which brings us to new business, boards and commissions. Councilman Mooney, anything to report?
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Items submitted by council members, and the chair recognizes Vice Mayor Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a lot of holiday activities that will happen between now and the next time we meet. This coming weekend on Saturday, December 1st, in conjunction with the community of Craddock's 100th birthday, there will be lots of activities in the Afton Square. Santa Claus is going to arrive at 3 p.m. on the fire engine at the gazebo in Afton Square. There will be a grand illumination there in the square at 5 o'clock. There will be a Christmas celebration between 4 and 6 with movies, arts and crafts, and refreshments. If you have any questions about those activities in Craddock, you can reach David Summers at 613-8254. In addition to that, on Monday, December 3rd, from 5:30 to 8 at Wilson High School, there will be a Baker's Best Holiday Bash flea market that is a ticketed event for teams to sponsor for the Portsmouth Schools Foundation. So that's at Wilson High School on Monday evening the 3rd. Next weekend on Saturday, December 8th, in Old Town, we will have the 3rd annual Children's Christmas Parade. That will be at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it will begin at Washington and High Street and head down to the foot of High Street to the Christmas tree at High Street Landing. And when the parade concludes, our Old Town Holiday Music Festival will begin, and that will go on with all the music and carolers up and down the street, with the firefighters, with the chimeneas and the marshmallows and all the good fun on the up and down High Street. The Santa Claus Shuffle will be on Sunday, December 9th, which will be a 1-mile fun run and walk, and then a 5K fun run and walk. And that is an event sponsored by the Portsmouth Museums Foundation. If you're interested in finding out more information about the Santa Claus Shuffle, you can call Mr. Joe Lloyd at 488-9161. And then the most important thing on the menu tonight for your calendar, at the end of the year on December 28th, which is a Friday, at 6 p.m. in this chamber, we will have the oath of office ceremony for our newly elected council members and returning council member Bill Moody, Councilman-elect Paul Battle, and Councilman-elect Shannon Glover. And that will be Friday, December 28th at 6 p.m. in this chamber. And it is open to the public, and all are welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Lisa Lucas-Burke.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council, I would like your consideration for Dr. Patton, our city manager, to consider a resolution that's been recommended by the Virginia Ratified ERA. There's this campaign that is going around, Virginia Ratified ERA, where if Virginia is the 38th state to ratify, we can change it in the Constitution. So the last state to ratify was state number 37, which was Illinois, and they think that Virginia will be the next state. So there are already some cities who have passed the resolution. Norfolk and Virginia Beach passed theirs in October. Chesapeake is considering theirs on their agenda tonight. We would like if Dr. Patton could bring a resolution to us for our December meeting.
You're asking for the consensus of council?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the consensus of council
Okay,
for us to consider this resolution for our December meeting.
Let's try to get that consensus.
Okay.
You've heard the request by Councilwoman Lisa Lucas Burke that we ask the city attorney and city manager to develop a resolution that, for our consideration, that would support the adoption of the ERA amendment. Is there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody against it? And we had asked, too, that we have a motion or resolution endorsing the VML legislative package. And this is in that package. So with council's concurrence, I think we should have 2 resolutions. Okay.
Yes.
Understand? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is report on pending items. Dr. Patton? Okay. And is there?
Mayor, there are no pending items.
I know, but I'm looking at the clerk and the city attorney. We're good? Okay. Yes.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, I wanted to make you aware that there'll be an additional item on the December 11th calendar. The PPIC has a request before it. As you all may know, the PPIC is an authorized administrator for bond issuance for 501c3 entities. There's a youth development authority in I believe it's Chantilly, Virginia, that is pursuing some funding. The PPIC has authority and a debt limit of about $10 million per year. When they act as the authority for the issuance of such bonds, they receive approximately $5,000 annually as an administrative fee. The PPIC will take up that matter on December 11th in the morning, and if that matter proceeds, that matter will be added to the council's agenda for that evening.
Good. Thank you. All right. Which brings us to 18-452, which non-agenda speakers, and we have 2. The first is Troy Wilkins, and sir, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Troy Wilkins, 3806 Town Point Road, Apartment E, Portsmouth, Virginia. Dear City Council, the title of this letter is Thank You. As I wrote this letter to you, I was in the presence of 6- and 7-year-olds whose lives are impacted by the decisions you make and the decisions you fail to make. As I look into many of their innocent, glistening little eyes and their toothless and gummy smiles, I became reminiscent of a time in which everyone in the room can relate, because everyone in this room has been there before. And that there is a first grade classroom. As I write on this beginner's handwriting paper, and as much as I want to address some of the notable, obvious, and somewhat disturbing discrepancies, I don't see nor feel the necessity to go in depth. Neither does time permit, but I am led by the Spirit to remind you that the good book says, for all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed or ordained by God. This suggests that those in leadership have a commitment and obligation to operate in a manner in which God would be pleased. I want to thank you that from this day forward, our school system will be a priority in the eyes of City Council. Thank you that because of your decision-making, our students no longer lack proper resources because of disparities and disagreements between school board and City Council. Thank you that teachers, custodians, instructional assistants, and school bus drivers can live stress-free, not worrying about how or if their medical insurance and benefits will be taken away by vote of City Council. Thank you for volunteering more of your personal time in schools to get a firsthand experience. Thank you that teachers are no longer working multiple jobs just to make ends meet. Thank you that our 72.7% of Black, 18.9% of white, and 8.4% of Native American, Asian, and American Indian, Native Hawaiian, Asian, and American Indian no longer fall victim to the school to prison pipeline because of disparities between school board and city council. Thank you that school system employees no longer have to worry about being furloughed 2 weeks before school because of disparities between school board and city council. Thank you that teachers no longer have to protest the city council because of lack of support from the city council. I say thank you because I truly believe that upon my completion of reading this letter, something in your spirit and soul has shifted, and it has caused you to regain an appreciation for our school system. Appreciate that teacher who changed your life. Appreciate that custodian in school who gave you candy. Appreciate that bus driver who never gave up on you. Appreciate that cafeteria worker who encouraged you to be all that you can be. On behalf of me, a first grade teacher, my wife, and our 8-week newborn baby girl, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Sergio Neal, and sir, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Portsmouth citizens. My name is Sergio Neal, and I reside at 1560 Darren Circle here in the city of Portsmouth. I just wanted to add one thing to the happenings list. The Portsmouth chapter of Virginia Organizing, which is, by the way, has been very prominent in the fight against the school to prison pipeline, is holding a holiday fundraiser party at one of our local businesses, Roger Brown's, on Monday, December 3rd. 2018 from 6 to 9 p.m. So we invite all of you to come out and support us in this endeavor to support Roger Brown's and the city of Portsmouth. The tickets are $10, but if we feel led to donate more, please feel free. The next thing is this, and this is a more serious matter. Like the fellow speaker just spoke about, I wanted to address the decision maker of council as it regards to education. And you have heard me say several times that at the end of the day, our school board is the direct employer of its employees. That means everybody that works in Portsmouth Public Schools, they come under the purview of our school board and the school system. So their primary battle is with that body. That body has made some decisions that has affected how their funding is spent. And they need to be held accountable as well. And I will be the first person to say I have said that several times and will keep on saying that. However, and the main issue I'm here about tonight is the decision that was made about the city bonuses. Trust and believe wholeheartedly, I feel that the city employees that work hard to serve this city, and some may disagree, but that's just fine, this is my opinion, that they deserve a bonus. However, our school system employees deserve a bonus as well. It would have been my opinion that the money was split between the city and the school system for those bonuses. It would be that in a show of good faith that our city does in fact support the school system and its employees. I will also say that I will hope that with our new council members coming on and our returning council members and those that will continue on, that we fix this preemptive, sometimes fabricated battle in between the two bodies. And we wholeheartedly understand what issues may have happened in the past, what deals that may have been made that did not come into reality, or whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, us as citizens, when we look on the news and we look in the newspaper and we see on Facebook this constant battle between the school system and the school board and the city council, I mean, we have to prioritize, and this is on both sides. This is holding both sides accountable. Education is the key to the future. We know those that are coming up have to be able to display the skills needed to carry the city, the state, and the nation forward. However, we can't blame one side or hold accountable one side without holding the other side just as accountable. At the end of the day, can we do more from a city standpoint for our school system? Absolutely. However, also to keep in mind that when the school system gets those funds, what they decide to do with it falls on them. And if they don't decide that their employees are priority and to make sure that they are showing reflective of that, then that's a problem within the school system first. And I really feel that we have to stop this mess of council is not so much in support of education. Because there is a support there. Now, I'm quite sure people that understand how funding actually works can see that, because that whole battle between the teachers got slighted. There was, for people that don't know, there was a one-time funding versus a reoccurring expense. So if you're going to give the teachers raises, that's a reoccurring expense. A bonus is a one-time expense. So you can't weigh one against the other. That's comparing apples to oranges. $1.9 million continuing on is a whole different battle versus $1.9 million one time. And if Portsmouth does not have that $1.9 million continuing on, where's the money going to come from? Or is the school system going to reprioritize their funding and make sure that that raise happens? Because I'm quite sure if we pull down budgets and compare both budgets, we can see some areas that can be cut in the school system, that some ballooned areas, as I like to call them, that can make sure that those classroom teachers get what they deserve.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is no further business before council, and the meeting is adjourned.